Welcome back for another video. Fresh off the back of the weekend's games, let's talk about some of the key talking points, what we've learned, and my transfer plans for Double Gameweek 33. The bench boost is active. So let's start with Man City versus Palace, obviously both doubling next week. It's a crazy game, this one. Palace started unbelievably well, and Glasner, assistant manager, was showing a ton of promise. Palace 2-0 up after about 20 minutes. Eze goal off a Sarr assist, and Richards got a goal off a Wharton corner. Eze with a brace actually, but it was marginally offside. Man City responded with 2 goals before half-time. And a huge half-time surprise as Glasner took Mateta off, even with no Nketiah in the squad. There were some fears that he might be injured, like he's in loads of our teams, but the good news is it's not an injury. The bad news is he wasn't having the best game. Glasner said the following: "He can do better than he did in the first half. He lost too many duels and too many balls. The mistake I made was to change the system, not to take Mateta off." So yeah, 5 unanswered goals from Man City to secure a 5-2 win, 0-pointer for Munoz. Marmoush notably getting one of those goals. He looks like an absolute no-brainer for the double. And perhaps of note, KDB had a fantastic game, goal and an assist for him. Are any of you tempted to get KDB for the double? And Foden missed out entirely, not even in the squad. I think my view is that even if Foden's a doubt for the double, I think KDB's still a risky pick. Like, Grealish could play the 10 for example, and it wouldn't be surprising if KDB's bench for one of the 2 Double Gameweek 33 games. The Man City mids are just a minefield, aren't they? Like, Savinho was benched again as well. 3.8 non-penalty XG for Man City though, comfortably highest. Brighton 2, Leicester 2. It had been over 12 hours of football since Leicester last scored, and it's had to be the game that they scored twice, didn't they, with Brighton defenders, and obviously Verbruggen, quite popular for bench boosters especially. Did any of you actually activate your bench boost in 32? How did you get on? Given obviously the massive lack of clean sheets, it seems to have largely been a bit of an underwhelming week to bench boost. João Pedro with a brace though, both of them penalties, 13-pointer for him. He created 2 big chances for teammates as well. We were talking about no free hit teams in the deadline stream and how a wildcard might look. Like, if you've used your free hit already, then I think João Pedro, we were saying, has to be in your team given it was Leicester home, plus he's got West Ham home in 34. That said, now the Leicester game's passed, I'd actually consider Wissa if you need a striker that gets you through 34 and beyond that. Speaking of lack of clean sheets, this was a painful one for millions of managers. Forest 0, Everton 1. Realistically, no one looked at Moyes' assistant manager due to the Double Gameweek managers, but a 19-pointer for him due to table bonus. No one can beat the 94 points that Moyes has built up so far. A mistake from Murillo very late in the second half near the halfway line, punished by Everton on the break, as Decore wiped the clean sheet in the 94th minute, McNeil assist. Everton are definitely a team that could come in handy still with our free transfers. Like in Gameweek 35, they're home to Ipswich. In Gameweek 37, they're home to Southampton. Beto we'll have to see because he was actually benched for that game, but the defenders could be really useful there. Wood was back from injury as well, straight back into the starting 11, while Elanga, who was a doubt, only made the bench. Southampton 0, Aston Villa 3. A surprisingly strong lineup named by Emery. We had Rodgers, Konsa, Rashford, Saka, Foden, Timber. All of them we were predicting to potentially get rested, and lots of those were, but in terms of Villa, Rodgers, Konsa, Rashford all started. It was a game to forget for Asensio and Asensio owners. 2 penalties, both of them saved by Ramsdale. This actually sparked a bit of a debate about the bonus point system. They tweaked it this season if you recall, and now it actually penalises defenders and goalkeepers massively for conceding, and we're seeing much less bonus rewarded to defenders and keepers this season. So like Ramsdale, 2 penalty saves, and he wasn't even on maximum bonus at full time, though he did actually get there later after the final calculation. Whereas João Pedro, 2 penalties scored, and he was 40 BPS clear of any player. Like Ramsdale, 2 penalty saves, barely getting maximum bonus. It was Watkins who was actually on for maximum bonus for a while, despite just a cameo off the bench for him where he did score once. Rodgers came away with an assist. It was a really great ball through to Marlon who buried it, 6-pointer for Rodgers. So who are actually the best Villa Double Gaming assets then? Well, I think Rodgers is arguably the best one. Like, he's safe for starts and minutes. Konsa's great if you need a defender. Martinez, of course, is fine, a bit more expensive. And then there's the peripheral picks like Rashford, Watkins, Asensio, who could be really good value. I'm looking to buy a Villa player or 2 for the double, more on that in a minute. Arsenal 1, Brentford 1. Only 0.24 expected goals conceded for Arsenal. That's better than any team. Brutally unlucky to concede off that if you had Arsenal defenders, which I think was most of us. A ball into the box eventually landed at Wissa's feet, who put in the equaliser for them. Saka, Ødegaard, Timber, Marino, Lewis Skelly all named on the bench. Arteta, as we expected, saving a few players for the second leg against Real Madrid. If you can't afford Saliba, then Kiwior's one to consider for the double. He's like 4.8 million and he started every match in Gabriel's absence in all competitions. Arsenal have got the best double of all teams as well, Ipswich away, Palace home. Chelsea could only manage a draw against Ipswich, who actually went 2-0 up as well in the first half, as boos rang round Stamford Bridge at half time. Not good enough really. And Newcastle's win over Man Utd actually knocking them down to 6th place as well, and out of Champions League spots. Palmer started. He didn't have the best game to be honest, and he did get booked. He got an assist. It was a brilliant goal from Sancho from outside the box, just a 4-pointer though. I was saying earlier to someone, I can't quite believe that Saka with 24, 45 and 27 minutes only scored one fewer point than Palmer. Like those of you that went Saka on the wildcard have done well really and saved the transfer there, especially if you benched his 1-pointers the last couple of weeks. But yeah, frustrating as a Palmer owner myself. Generally, higher minutes comes out on top, but yeah, it's just one of those where you have to accept that there's a lot of variance in FPL. I mean, something that might look like a good decision in any given game week can still have a bad outcome. I think finding a way to separate decision making and outcome is quite important in FPL, because otherwise you can end up with lessons that aren't valid. Like let's say you captain Marmouche next game week and he blanks, but he gets 5 XG across both games, you know, he misses 10 big chances, then that's not a bad decision, you're just unlucky with the outcome. And yeah, it's always going to be incredibly hard for Palmer to replicate that 23-24 season. But the craziest part is, he's on 192 points, which, you know, in isolation is exceptional, but it's just a really bad patch of form recently really, which has skewed our perception maybe. He's averaging 6.2 points per match over the season, which would actually put him on 229 points by Game Week 38. Liverpool edged a 2-1 win over West Ham, who did grow into the game after Luis Diaz initially put them ahead. It was a brilliant Salah assist. Some good fortune for Bradley and Van Dijk owners. Bradley off just after 60 minutes with the clean sheet locked in before they went on to concede. And Van Dijk scoring the winner as well, so that was 2 9-pointers for defenders. Since his Premier League debut in September 2015, Van Dijk scored more goals than any other central defender, 24 goals. Salah registered his 18th assist of the season as well now. He needs just 2 more assists to tie the all-time record with Henry and De Bruyne, who both got 20 assists in 02-03 and 19-20. Do you think he does it? 6 games remaining. 3 assists, of course, would set a new record. If you need a cheap defender in your team, Bradley was someone that we discussed in last week's videos. You still get Leicester next, which is great. They're going to be near the top of the clean sheet odds, except for the doublers. He's only 4.7 mil. And when he's going off earlier, there is that potential to lock in clean sheets like today, which proved costly for Kanata owners like myself. He played 90 and just got 2 points. That's now 8 games without a goal in open play for Salah though. If you're looking to really play aggressive for the run-in and you've got nothing to lose, then you could bet on his dip of form continuing and go no Salah with Palmer and Saka instead, for example. Though, I mean, it's not like Palmer and Saka have been pulling up roots either recently. That said, Salah's assist puts him on 27 goals, 18 assists. That's 45 goal contributions. That's a new all-time record in a 38-game season. Lastly, Newcastle versus Man Utd resulted in a really comfortable win in the end, 4-1 to Newcastle. Onana not named in the squad at all after some costly mistakes in Europa midweek. Amarin opted to give him the game off. Bayender got the nod and he's actually playing alright in the first half, but he made a huge mistake playing the ball to Joelinton, who headed it straight to Bruno G, who scored, so I'm sure we'll see Onana backing a goal next match. Isak and Murphy both came away with 5 pointers, an assist each. Well played if you were one of the 200,000 that went for Barnes though. I mean, he was another one on last week's content that was basically shortlisted as a potential differential if you're really chasing. A lot of us, of course, are already stuck on triple Newcastle, so it was never a consideration or an option. And there was that Gordon risk, to be fair, who was named on the bench and he came on second half. Isak triple captain us. Let us know in the comments how we're feeling about 5 points from the first game. Good luck on Wednesday as well. I mean, a lot of us only got 6 points from Haaland when we used ours, so you're well on your way to beating that, but I'm sure a disappointing first game in the double, all things considered. So, an early look at my team and transfer plans for the double. Now, Game Week 32, of course, concludes on Wednesday with Newcastle against Palace, but we're also going to have Villa playing on Tuesday and Arsenal on Wednesday in the Champions League, so I'm not rushing to make transfers, but yeah, it's going to be tight this week. The team is Raya Vardiol, Kanate Saliba, Eze Sarr, Salah Murphy, Palmer Mateta and Marmoush. The bench boost is active with a bench of Martinez, Isak, Wan-Bissaka and Burn. So my Game Week 32 bench got like 12 points, so I guess that's the benchmark to beat. Game Week 32 and the Game Week 33 bench boost was really a coin toss, and I ultimately just went for 33 because of last Game Week being between two Champions League legs. It's not that strong of a bench really, but like if Isak scores, maybe Wan-Bissaka keeps a clean sheet, then I'll take that. Due to FA Cup replays being scrapped, we've had smaller double game weeks this season, which has weakened the strength of the bench boost chip. I guess we've had the assistant manager added, so I actually wouldn't be surprised if we see a record total points achieved this season. Anyway, transfer plans then. So I've got 2 free transfers, 0.4 million in the bank. As I was saying earlier, it's going to be extremely tight this week to afford what I want to do. The plan is to sell Palmer for Saka and Murphy for Rodgers. So this replaces 2 single game week assets with 2 doublers, and that gets me up to 10 players with a double game week, which I'm happy with, to be honest. Villa and Man City are going to be the 2 teams that I'll be doubled up on rather than tripled up. 16 returns this season for Rodgers now. He's definitely been the budget gem of the season, hasn't he? Starting at 5 mil. And although it's a pretty rough double, he does strike me the type of player that's capable of having a real impact against any side. I also like the fact that Villa will double in Game Week 36 if they can beat Palace in the FA Cup semi-finals. So I'll either have 3 doublers or 2 doublers given my ownership of both teams currently. Obviously, Saka's been getting a few benches in the league recently as well, and that is a risk of buying him, but I do think there's a reasonable chance that he actually starts both. They blank in 34, so that's a small rest, and there's a pretty healthy gap to the Champions League semi-finals if they do knock Real Madrid out. I do have the option to go Isak to Watkins -4. Originally, of course, I was looking to do that for free, but Gabriel's injury meant I had to use a transfer there, so I'm not sure it's worth the -4, but we'll see. So that's the plan. Drop a comment below of how you're getting on, with obviously that final double game week game to go. Good luck on Wednesday. Hit subscribe as well for lots of double game week content coming this week. See you soon for the next one.